On September 6, 2022, Island County Commissioners voted against declaring a climate emergency and instead unanimously passed a climate resolution. Local youth and community members were optimistic, yet yearning for stronger action.
4 members of USL and 14 community supporters spoke before the commission, stressing the need to declare a climate emergency, which was language that was not included in Resolution C-5522, Climate Change and Steps to Ensure County Resiliency.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 6, 2022 regular session of the Board of Island County Commissioners.
Hi, my name is Syd Carver. I'm a member of United Student Leaders, and I am a resident of Clinton, Washington. Today, you already have heard quite a bit about, and you will hear about why we need a climate emergency declaration, as that piece was left out of Resolution C-5522, currently titled Climate Change and Steps to Ensure County Resiliency. I want to start off with a brief explanation of what a climate emergency declaration is. Not only is it a way for a government to show their commitment to this issue that faces our whole world, but it's also a way to join a global movement of 2,268 jurisdictions and counting, including 29 U.S. counties, 1 in Washington, that are fighting together to save our planet. United Student Leaders has showed support for this declaration with a climate strike, a petition delivery of 450 signatures, and a letter of support signed by 31 organizations and businesses. Some quotes from these supporters will be included in our speeches today to give voice to those in our county that are worried for a future without strong action to combating climate change that weren't able to make it today. I'd like to start off with a quote from Bryn Schmidt, an Oak Harbor High School student who was not able to attend the meeting today. She says, "It is prudent that Island County declare a climate emergency immediately. No matter where you fall on the political spectrum, we can all agree that this planet is worth protecting. Common decency implores us to act on this issue now so that life on Earth has a fighting chance for a healthy future."
My name is Maggie Nattress, and I'm from Langley, Washington. Climate emergency declaration, which is what we are trying to get you to change your resolution to, is a promise to our community that we do see that the climate is changing, that we see that there are efforts that are being made to actually change it, but that those efforts are not enough, that we need to go further, we need to go beyond, we need to do more in order to actually affect change.
Quoting members of the community, businesses, and petitioning for definitive action, USL members and community supporters called for consideration of shrinking availability of clean water, increased air pollution, and rising sea levels.
Both USL members and community supporters urged the board to consider the impacts of the climate crisis that would be felt throughout Langley and the broader community.
Included in this resolution was additional language that considered the impacts of climate change on marginalized community members. USL member Jackson Murphy addressed issues of intersectionality while speaking to the board.
Another edit that we are proposing to this resolution is around intersectionality of the climate crisis, because the climate crisis affects a lot of marginalized communities in disproportionate ways. We really, in the resolution we submitted to you in May, really highlighted that, and I would really like to see more of that being added back into this resolution. And so there is a whereas on all of the edited ones that you have that reads, "Whereas climate action should be implemented in an equitable way and accountable to historically marginalized communities. The communities least responsible for the climate crisis are often the most vulnerable to its effects, and we have a moral responsibility to listen to them, believe them, follow their lead, and prioritize their survival."
The board then clarified the changes put forward to Resolution C-5522, including adjustments to the title of the resolution, Climate Change and Steps to Ensure County Resiliency, and to the statement considering marginalized communities and intersectionality.
Did you have anything else, Janet?
Well, yes. I know we've been trying really hard to find a path where we can be unanimously in supportive of this resolution. Given the amount of public input and the facts of what this climate change has meant to our communities, our state, and our nation and our world, I am going to support a language change in the title that says, it may not go as far as some people want, but a declaration of emergency, and words matter, as many of you said, does have certain implications that I want to be careful that I'm clear about. So my suggestion is that we title this resolution Climate Change and Steps to Ensure County Resiliency by Declaring a Climate Crisis. And that would be one change. The second change I would recommend is that we have all, as a board, been very strongly dedicated, all three of us, to the concept of equity. So while I wouldn't include the whole entire paragraph, I think a paragraph that recognizes that intent, and I want to thank Jackson for raising it, is a sentence that says, whereas climate action should be implemented in an equitable way and accountable to historically marginalized communities, and should be inserted. And I think that would be enough of my troublemaking for today.
Commissioner St. Clair then motioned for 4 changes to be enacted to the resolution, including the title change, adjustments to the statement regarding marginalized communities, and a change in wording to clarify Island County's partnership with ICLEI.
Commissioner Bacon chose not to second Commissioner St. Clair's motion, and both Commissioner Bacon and Commissioner Johnson offered responses to the resolution and the changes USL presented, citing their reservations.
This is just the first step for us. After we pass this resolution, or some type of resolution, the next thing that we want to do, or that I want to do, I'm not speaking for the board here, the next thing that I want to do is to pass a resolution in December that lists goals, actual achievable goals. And then in 2023, have a climate action plan that responds to those goals, so that we have an actual, genuine climate action plan with things we can actually do. I am not a person about rhetoric. I'm about action. So that's one thing. For me, this is just one step on a path that is much bigger. The bigger thing for me is a climate action plan. That is what matters to me. So, but the other thing is, we in District 1, who love the trees and we love the water and we're very, progressive and all of that, we cannot do this by ourselves. We need the people in District 2 and District 3 to also say, this is important to us. They need to recognize for themselves that climate change is important, and we need to pay attention to it, and we need to take action. Because we cannot change people's behavior by lecturing at them or telling them they're wrong or, shooting arrows at the things that matter to them. We have to help them to understand why this is in their very best interest to make these changes. And so if we do not have the full commitment of all 3 commissioners, I am not going to support the resolution. This is that important to me, that the people of District 2 and District 3, as well as the District 1, their interests, their beliefs are heard in this.
The resolution is as far as I'm willing to go right now, and I want to be clear about a little bit why, and Commissioner Bacon spoke to it pretty well. There is not one person in this room from District 2. There is not one business on that list from the largest business community in Island County. To say statements like, that this is a movement. I'm a county commissioner. I'm an elected Island County commissioner responsible for the administrative outcomes of policies and programs that serve all of our citizens. I don't have the luxury of being an activist. I don't have the luxury of having a single agenda. You have that. I do not. I balance tensions of choice. I maybe would ask every youth, are you committed to not having children, to not overpopulating the planet, to not getting on an airplane, to not driving to work? How many changes are you personally going to make? I listened to an entire community of people talk about their grandchildren. I don't have any kids. I did my part to not overpopulate the planet and not put the impacts on the environment.
I'm
right?
making up for you on that one.
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude about it, but there's words and there's actions. There's words and there's behaviors. I'm listening to the behavior change that needs to happen. How many people died in COVID in the United States alone? 1 million plus? What was the impact on the climate? Removing 1 million people who aren't driving, who aren't eating, who aren't using energy. It was no impact at all. So we can spend all of our time talking about this and working on this, and we're not going to move the dial at all. I am prepared to have conversations about things that are within my jurisdictional control, things that I think we can have impacts on, preparedness, resiliency, education, more conversations. I think those are all within our purview.
I would like to see us table this and see if there is any way we can come up with stronger language that both of you can agree on. So, for example, Commissioner Johnson, the third whereas that speaks to historically marginalized communities, I suspect we could probably come up with some agreement on some language associated with that particular concern.
I'm happy with the words. I'll be up front. I don't understand what that means. I know wealthy white people who live on the shoreline. So I'm not trying to be dumb. I really don't even understand how that sentence is not pandering, because I'm not seeing the impact in Island County on marginalized communities as it relates to climate change. They're going to McDonald's. They're not going to farmers market. Lots of these populations. That's what they can afford, right? Is McDonald's being impacted? So, and I'm not trying to be snarky. I know it sounds that way. I am fully aware of my tone. I hear it every day about the tone. I don't pick the right one. But I don't know how that sentence, I don't know what that sentence actually means in terms of implementation. And I don't want to just do things to say it. I hear people say words matter. Yeah, but I talk a lot. So I discount 50% of what I say, right? Actions matter. I need to know what we're doing and what this means. And when I agree to it, I'm agreeing to it. This says we are going to work on climate activities. We're going to build this into our book of business. That we are going to, when we do land use planning, we're going to think about what this means. When we do policy development, we're going to prioritize this in our thought process to say, this isn't a resolution. This is going to be part of our ongoing book of business. When I vote for this, I'm committing myself to do that work as it comes up in all of our conversations. I don't think that that's meaningless. I think that's going pretty far. And again, from a government perspective, crisis and emergencies means suspending what you're doing and acting with urgency above all else. We're doing this above all else, above permit times, above human service programs, above affordable housing, because you've got to cut down the trees to build the houses. It's important, but it's not. We don't get to suspend everything we're doing for this. I just don't have the luxury to do that.
The motion put forward by Commissioner St. Clair that included 4 changes to the resolution was not successful. The change to the title was rejected.
Commissioner Johnson then put forward a motion that omitted the change to the resolution title while including the following changes. Number 1, adjustments to the statement regarding marginalized communities. Number 2, a change in wording to clarify Island County's partnership with ICLEI. And number 3, adding "and structural" to the following statement.
Whereas, behavioral and structural changes are important in achieving climate goals and creating communities that are safer and healthier. Resolution C-5522. This motion passed unanimously.
Quote, I am hopeful that this decision will lead to an effective climate action plan. However, it is discouraging to see this resolution being passed as a milder version. We do not have time for weak language. We need strong language so that we have a clear direction that leads us to strong action.
We need everyone to look past political differences and realize the climate crisis is a fight that faces all of us.
We will continue to fight for the earth and the people. Today was a sad reminder of how people in our government put politics over people.